Hello and welcome to the 14th Annual Shelter Cape Cod Telethon. I'm Mindy, Todd, and along with me is Elisa Galazzi, the CEO of the Housing Assistance Corporation. Here we are again. This is a year for you.
Yeah, almost a year. January 3rd was my first day, but last year my daughter and I volunteered on the phone, so this is my second telethon.
Second telethon, but now you've had the job as CEO for about a year now, and so how's it going?
So far, so good. You know, I'm really impressed with our staff and our programming and all the services that we offer. And I'm excited this evening that we have an opportunity to tell our story to the folks at home in their living room and get to know who we are and what we do.
And if you don't know the story, stay tuned because a lot of great information is going to be coming your way and a lot of really interesting stories and fascinating people. One focus for the telethon is on families. How does HACK help families?
Well, you're going to hear some family stories this evening, and that I think is really special that we've been able to bring some clients on to tell their story and to demonstrate the impact our services have in their lives. But HACK, a lot of people don't know, it's one of the best kept secrets about our organization is we have 4 family shelters. So we house about 200 families a year in our shelters, and it's short-term housing that gives them a stable, safe place to live while the parents can get a job, the kids can stay in school. We stabilize the situation so that they can get into a longer-term, stable situation.
And I think one of the things that is going to surprise people, people have this idea of who homeless people are, and they really are and can be anybody. People find themselves in a homeless situation for many, many reasons.
Many reasons, yes, absolutely. Loss of job, health crisis, divorce, there's a million reasons that people end up homeless. And I think tonight you'll hear some of those stories and understand that it's not what we imagine it to be, and it really could be any of us.
As we're talking about families too, unfortunately we've seen in recent years that number rising of homeless families.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yep. It's not just on the Cape, but it's in Massachusetts. It's the fastest growing population of homelessness in our region.
So you've had a year to kind of settle in. What's your vision looking forward?
That is good. We're still developing the vision. I'm working with the board on that. I can tell you that we are really looking at how we can make a long-term impact on families and in individuals' lives. So moving from housing, which is absolutely a basic need, right? But then how do we help them self-actualize? How do we help them live the life that they want to live with job training, with intervention with medical care possibilities, adding different services and really rounding out our services so that we can, again, help people take them where they are and empower them to go to the next step in their life.
And one thing we should mention is preventing homelessness. That's a key thing. It actually costs less to keep someone in their home than to get them housed.
Yeah, that's one of the special things about our organization also is we have some funding streams and grants and some really great donors that help us help someone with funding, with financial resources, or with housing search in order to help them stay in their home or to find the next place quickly so that they're not homeless.
Elisa Galazzi is the CEO at Housing Assistance Corporation. We'll look forward to seeing you. You'll be here all evening.
I'll be here all evening, so I'll come back.
All right, thanks for joining us. Coming now is Michael Gallo. He is the Senior Manager of Government and Regulatory Affairs for Comcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Comcast is a partner here every year, and you have a special program to help provide cable service to families in need. So tell us about that.
We do, yes. Essentially, internet services we provide to families in need, low-income families, $9.95 a month, as long as you qualify, which is whether you receive HUD assistance funding or if you have children or multiple children that qualify for the National Free and Reduced Lunch Program, you also qualify for that. And recently this year, we continue to expand that program every year, and we've upped the speeds on the internet to be able to watch videos, and we've also provided our access to 40 hours of our Xfinity Wi-Fi, so they can now pick up through their mobile devices in other areas other than just their home.
And that's so key for education now with the kids. So if somebody says, whoa, wait, my kids are on the lunch program, how do they find out? Do they call Comcast? How do they get in touch?
They could either call 1-800-COMCAST, or we do have internetessentials.com, which they can go to. A lot of information on there. And, So the website's a great resource. Calling us, our care folks are always willing to help. All the towns have my contact information in the area. They're welcome to contact me as well, and any of the town managers and the board of selectmen can provide them with that information.
Have you found that you're serving more families every year, or is this program that new, or is it? You said expanded.
Yes, this program has been going on for a couple years now, and we continue to expand the program and the enhancements, along with we continue to connect more and more families each day. So our program grows along with the people that are accessing it and utilizing it, because it really does make a difference, especially with the kids and those that are on HUD funding, to be able to pay their bills and do a lot of other things that the internet provides.
Michael Gallo, thanks so much from Comcast. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the programs that you offer. A surprise guest? We have a surprise guest? Come on over here. See, this is the thing about the telethon. You never know who's going to pop in and when. State Senator Julian's here. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Thanks for coming in.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's great to be here.
Same to you.
Look at this. This is like a who's who of Cape Codders.
The whole evening is like that,
know.
yeah. So you came in person.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, not everybody has the time to do that, so.
Fortunately, the legislature is on recess, so there's a little more time to be able to be here in the district and come by personally.
And this is an issue that is near and dear to your heart.
This is an issue that I ran on when I ran in 2016, and we've been working on it ever since. I mean, if you look at so many Cape Codders and Islanders face the challenge of attainable housing, not only just affordable housing, but sort of across the income span. I've been kind of sinking into some policy work. I chair one of the committees in the legislature that's responsible for looking at housing and zoning issues. And what we've seen on the Cape is that because it's so expensive, the cost of housing is so expensive, it's really put all this compression on our most vulnerable folks. And so we really have seen, I think, an increase in folks who are not only homeless, but housing insecure. And that's where HACK comes in. I mean, over 5,000 individuals helped in the year, just this year alone, 200 individuals who would be homeless if it wasn't for HACK. So it's a really, really critical safety net that we need more and more, because of our communities have just become profoundly unaffordable.
And since we have you here, I'm going to go beyond HACK and talk to legislative. One of this is a tricky issue, and obviously affordable housing is something we've been talking about for decades. But it's difficult because one of the things, we don't have a lot of the apartment rentals or the rental properties that other areas might have. And then so you have young people who may want to stay, aren't ready to buy a home, so that they're limited options. And then you might have seniors who are downsizing, who are kind of competing for that same housing that is already limited. Yeah, so what do we do?
So exactly. So we actually do have, if you look at our sort of historic downtowns, right? We actually do have a tradition of mixed-use space, right? You had a relatively dense downtown, whether it's in Dennisport or Chatham or Oak Bluffs or Provincetown. So a lot of efforts can be done at the local level. Oak Bluffs actually is going to be moving to have encouraging development kind of on the second and third floors. I think that's really important. But I think we do need to have housing production. On the state level, there's been several bills that have been out there that I'm supporters of, looking at both housing production and zoning reform. Governor Baker actually just filed a bill that we're going to be working on, looking at changing a whole host of things, whether it's the threshold you need to get changes in zoning law through town meeting. Right now there's a really high threshold of a 2/3 majority. We'd move to just a 50%. Having accessory dwelling units by right, looking at multifamily development as well, requiring every town to have that. And I think that, really for us, a lot of these solutions, though, at the local level, we're working to, clear up some red tape at the state level. We're also working on, we're going to have a housing bond bill that's coming, and this is going to focus not only just on affordable housing, but what's called workforce housing, or another term that's used is diverse price point housing. Really here, even if you're making 120, 150% of area median income, it still doesn't add up for you to buy a home. So there's just some of the pieces that we're working on, but stay tuned for this bill. I think the governor's proposal is a good one. We're looking forward to moving that to the legislature, and I hope it helps.
All right, we will stay tuned. State Senator Julian's here. Thanks so much for coming in and speaking with us. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
All
Thank
right,
you so much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move over to this set over here. We've got Jan Nelson, Housing Assistance Corporation Family Self-Sufficiency Coordinator. Hi, Jan.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Great. And you brought a family with you. So before we get to this lovely family and these lovely young ladies who look so festive, what is the self-sufficiency program? Tell us what that is and talk right into that microphone.
Okay, it's a 5-year program, and we work with folks who have a Section 8 housing voucher with us, and it's essentially an asset building program. So I work with them on the goals they want to achieve during the 5 years, interim goals and final goals. So one would be education, and we think that that is really the key to moving ahead. So if people want to go to school, I help them with that. If they want to take a training, I encourage that. Finances is another goal that we like to work on. So they take budgeting classes, credit rebuilding classes. We work with them to develop assets, start saving money. And employment is another big one. Some folks aren't working when they join the program, and some folks are part-time, so we encourage them to get a job, to work full-time, to get a better job if they want to. So home ownership is the last goal we'll work on.
And
Amy
that's
is
where Amy Gregoire comes in.
perfect
She's a
example.
former HAC client, 3 daughters. We have Lucy on the end there, who's 6, Josie, who's 4, and Susie, who's 21 months. And so, Amy, what did this program do for you?
Well, I worked on everything Jan just mentioned and more. You try, yes. I took budgeting classes. I met with a financial advisor, which I thought was out of my scope, but Jan introduced us, and he's a lovely man, so he helped. I went to school with Jan's encouragement. I'm in my first year as training to be an occupational therapy assistant. You say hi? Yeah, everybody's watching you. Yeah. I developed enough savings to and applied for a Habitat for Humanity house. So without Jan's help, I wouldn't have been able to afford the closing costs on the house.
Right. I'm going to move over here and talk to the girls. So, I want to know, what do you think about, you've been in your new house since June. What do you think about it?
It's really nice, and I like it.
Do you girls share a bedroom?
Yes.
What do you think about it?
I really like it.
You both look very beautiful this evening, very festive. We're so happy you could be here with us. So how did this, obviously this had a big impact, so talk about how it changed your life.
When I started in the program, I only had 2 children, but I had gotten a Section 8 voucher, and I didn't think I didn't understand how I would ever get out. Housing was so expensive, and then everything else was so expensive, and as my income went up, my rent went up, and it was hard to save. So Jan kind of helped me see the light at the end of the tunnel that showed me that families give up their Section 8 voucher every day to family self-sufficiency. I got the program as soon as the day I got the Section 8 voucher. It was in the packet I got, and I thought, well, that's what I want, and she got me there.
So now, when Amy gives up her Section 8 voucher, that goes to somebody else, right? Now let's have that microphone right over here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Future broadcaster over here. Okay.
Well, Amy mentioned when her income went up, her rent went up. Well, that's the wonderful thing about this program, because when that happens, an escrow savings account is started. And folks have the ability to accrue up to $25,000 in my program over 5 years.
Wow.
When they give up their Section 8 voucher, we give them $5,000 home ownership bonus. So it's really incentive for people to work hard and pay more rent and eventually become homeowners if they decide to.
Yeah. Amy, how did you feel when you graduated the program?
Oh, I was thrilled. I felt I felt self-sufficient. I felt ready to, I could handle housing, and I knew how to budget, and I knew I had the skills to keep my house and to be successful there.
And who's eligible for this program?
Anyone who has a Section 8 housing voucher with Housing Assistance Corporation.
Okay, great. So Jan Nelson, Housing Assistant Family Self-Sufficiency Coordinator, Amy Gregoire, and her lovely little girls here. Oh, little Susie's not happy. Josie and Lucy, thank you so much for coming in.
Welcome. Thank you.
We're going to move back over here. And who do we have up next? Oh, Andrew Gottlieb, Mashpee Selectman, Director of Association to Preserve Cape Cod. Hi, good to see you.
See you. It's nice to be here.
You never know who's going to be here.
Never know, right?
So talk a little bit about what Housing Assistance Corporation has done, specifically Mashpee, since you're a selectman in Mashpee.
Well, it's such a valuable organization in providing assistance to people. We have Habitat Homes, they're a partner in that. And I think that, they help people throughout our community deal with some of the challenges that we all face in terms of providing a sufficient amount of affordable housing so that we can keep people and keep our communities real.
And we've talked over the years. I mean, you've been involved in a lot of different areas of community leadership, let's say, and all of these issues are tied together. Housing, the environment, jobs, all of that to make our communities sustainable and to make people, to want to live here. So this is really sort of just one section, I guess, one leg of the four legs of a chair or something that are so important to everything.
Well, I don't think the Cape stays the Cape if the only people that can afford to live here are second homeowners. We need a diverse economy. We need a diverse population to provide the kind of experience people expect here and to allow them to stay. And, from an environmental point of view, if housing is so expensive and people can't afford to stay in their homes, or they barely stay in their homes, they don't have the resources or the time to think about the environment and some of those other issues. And so, a lot of the things that we try and think about are how can we provide environmental quality, not price people out of their homes, and develop the housing that needs to be developed in a way that supports the Cape Cod environment. The days of perhaps from the 80s when it was housing versus the environment are really past. I think it's a question now of the types of things that provide good housing opportunities for people are really good environmental practices as well. And so from a town perspective, we need to open our minds a little bit to how we can get some of the density in the right location so that people can afford to live there. You can build, community-based neighborhoods and do it in a way that's good for the environment.
We were just talking to Senator Julian Cyr, and I was mentioning how, we've made some steps in affordable housing. Yet this is something, it's been an issue for decades. We seem to always be talking about this need for affordable housing. Are you optimistic? Do you feel like we're gaining ground enough to eventually solve this problem?
Well, I think that we're at a point now where people are beginning to realize that the conversation has to be different. I think if we try and use the same strategies that have been used over the last 20 or 30 years and haven't solved the problem, we're not going to solve the problem. But now you have pockets of conversation going on about density and downtown development, walkable communities and town center-oriented development that ties retail and housing together. And I think that's where the future lies. And so the fact that we're having those conversations, I think, makes me optimistic that we're going to make some real progress.
Andrew Gottlieb, Mashpee Selectman, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Mindy.
All right. All right, up next, where are we going? Oh, you've got a thank you already. Wonderful. Thank you, Mary. Mary, since we're sort of out of order, I'm going to pull you in here because I know we've talked about this before, but you have actually had the experience of sleeping outside. You remember that you did that on the Hyannis Green, I guess, not that many years ago, but tell us about that.
Well, it's an experience I'll never forget, that's for sure. And it certainly put it in perspective to what it's really like to be out there when it's cold. And we do have people that are out there,
Tell us what happened. Were you sleeping on? Would you have a sleeping bag? What were you doing?
I had a sleeping bag and I was in a tent. And a lot of people don't have that. But it was a very, very cold night. And I felt so guilty the next morning when I went home and took a good hot shower and thought the people that I left just now will not be taking a hot shower this morning. That's the best way I can explain it.
All right, Mary LeClaire, thanks for sharing that. We've got some thank yous here. Paul Kalidi, I think Wellfleet, hopefully I said that right. Thank you, Paul. Next thank you is Daniel and Cindy Roth. from Brewster, thank you. Gladys Pike from Mashpee made a donation, as did Attorney Thomas Latanzi from Orleans. Let's see, Hilichi Builders, I hope I said that right, Harwich. That's a tough challenge here, saying all these names, right? And I said Paul. Okay, great. So, and we could be happy to read your name if you call the number on the bottom of your screen and make a donation. We'll be happy to say thank you to you as well. Who do we? Okay, come on up. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm the director at the Village at Katomet Family Shelter. And I guess I'm supposed to tell you a little bit about the shelters. The family shelters, do you want, go ahead. The Village at Katomet is 18 families, and then we also have scattered sites, which is 17 families. Those are the two shelters that allow men. So we have in both shelters single moms, single dads, and two-parent households. The Village at Katomet typically has about between 40 and 50 people living there at any given month, and that about half of them are usually children.
So what happens when you're full and another family says, hey, we need a place to stay?
Well, if they're anyone that comes into any shelter, a family shelter has to go through their local DTA office. So if the shelters are full on Cape Cod and it's a Cape Codder, they'll be placed somewhere, but they will be placed off Cape. And it happens vice versa. You know, we get sometimes people aren't from the Cape, and sometimes our Cape Codders are shipped to Springfield. Yeah.
Wow, Springfield.
It's difficult. Yes, it gets,
How long is the typical stay?
The typical stay is around 8 months, give or take. It really depends on the family and what their circumstance is, but average is about 8 months.
And what are some of the situations that families find themselves in that leads them to a shelter?
Yeah, that's tricky. It's a various reasons. It could be there's substance abuse issues in the family, or the family they were with maybe had issues. As we all know, that's a problem on Cape Cod. It could be mental health issues. It could be a job loss. It could be I have quite a few working families right now at my shelter, and they're still there trying to stay on Cape. And as even the first few guests had mentioned, the rental market's just tough. They're working and still can't afford to stay on the Cape, and they really want to because they'd like to keep their jobs on the Cape. So it's a variety of reasons that they can end up homeless.
And there are many people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and it just takes, that car breaking down, losing that job, a divorce.
Absolutely. In some cases, it takes maybe just a sick child, and you've had to buy over-the-counter medicines, and it can throw your whole budget off when you're living paycheck to paycheck.
So when they're in the family shelters, what other services do you provide for them? Is there some sort of resources? You mentioned, some might be there because of, a domestic violence situation or, job coaching. What kinds of things do you offer?
So what we do is each family gets assigned a case manager, and they do an assessment. And then while they're with us at the shelters, we try to bring in the resources and programs that will help them strengthen their family in whatever way, whether it's if they need domestic violence counseling, we'll connect them to that. If they need some substance abuse issues, we might connect them to that. We bring in programming for parenting issues. We have HAC's Consumer Education Department that comes in and does workshops with the families that encompasses budgeting and tenancy skills and how to repair your credit. So we work on all of those while they're with us. We try to, like I said, we do that assessment and see what are their needs, and then we try to bring in services, and we work with them based on what their needs might be.
Paula Mallard, Facility Director at the Village at Katomet, which is a HAC shelter. Thanks so much for telling us about it.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Again, we're hoping you will call the number on the bottom of your screen and talk to some of our, I put them right over there, Mary. Talk to some of our volunteers here on the phone banks. And I believe we are going to talk now to, where are we going? We're going to the phone? Phones, okay. Let's see who's on the phones. All right. No name tag here.
I know. Sorry. Devonia Killer.
You're here every year. I see you every year.
I've been here a few years.
Tell us why you come.
Well, First of all, I'm a Christian and I'm celebrating Jesus' birth at this time of year. And he said that as you do unto the least of these, you do it unto me. So I think we can all realize that we could be in similar shoes and therefore we need to do what we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Just since most of them are busy, we'll go down the phone line. We have Walter Finney on the HAC staff who's here, Cindy Mall, who's also here. I can't see, it looks like Cabby from the HAC board, Ken Jenks from DY High School, and we have Carol Woodbury, DY Regional School District. No name tag on the next one. And then we also have Evelyn Salvador, Kenlin Grover Real Estate. Up in the back row, we have Paul Rankachalas from the HAC board, Liam Cahill also from the HAC board. A few with no name tags. Ruth, a lot of HAC board people here. Ruth Bechtold from the HAC staff, Paul Colletti from the First Congregational Church of Wellfleet. Hi. All busy answering the phones. All right, where are we going now? Oh, Sarah Colvin's here. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, how are you, Mindy?
Good. Now, this is your territory.
It is. So I'm going to try to talk to some of the folks who are here behind the phones. And I know we have Carol Woodbury here from the DY School District and Ken Jenks. He's on the phone. It seems like everybody's busy on the phone right now. Let's see. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your name.
I am Kathy Gibson. I'm actually a board member for HAC.
Wonderful. Kathy, how are the donations coming in today?
A little bit slow, but we're at the beginning, so I have hope that we will get them moving faster.
Okay, and what can you say to the folks out there to encourage them to give us a call and donate to Shelter Cape Cod?
Every little bit helps. So if you have $5, that will help. Anything you can do.
Wonderful. Well, you can call now 508-694-6670. And let's see. Who else do we have here? Everybody's so busy on the phones. Carol Woodbury's busy. Let's see who's back here. Everybody again talking on the telephone. They're all busy making calls. Oh, here, can I ask you a question or two? Your name?
Ruth Bechtold.
And Ruth, what brings you here this evening?
I work for Housing Assistance Corporation.
Wonderful. And how have the donations been coming in for you tonight?
They've been coming in pretty good from my friends. I thank them all very much.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your volunteer and thank you for your support.
I have a couple of thank yous that we can mention. Stephanie Ralt from Brewster, and I hope I'm not butchering these names. I'm sorry if I am. Paige McMahon from Cape Cod Coastal Realty from Orleans. Thank you for calling. Am I revealing our total yet? Are we close to that? Am I ready to do our total? Okay. So far, towards our goal, we have raised $5,575. Good start. It's a good start. Let's keep it going. These busy phone people.
Many people don't realize that homeless families are the fastest growing segment of the homeless population in Massachusetts. At Housing Assistance Corporation, we run 4 shelters for homeless families. In Bourne, Hack runs the Village at Catawmet, a motel that has been converted into a family homeless shelter. The Village at Catawmet is for families consisting of 2-parent or single-parent households with children. In Falmouth, Hack runs the Carriage House Shelter for first-time mothers and their children. The building that houses the Carriage House was once part of a grand summer home. It was later turned into a B&B before we purchased it to use for families in need. And in Hyannis, Hack runs the Angel House Shelter, which is for women in recovery from substance abuse and their children. This special program unites families while focusing on the dual traumas of homelessness and substance abuse. In Hyannis and Yarmouth, Hack's Scattered Sites program consists of 17 units providing temporary shelter for families. Last year in our family shelters, we housed 174 families, including 195 children. Many people don't think about children when they think of homeless people, but for us at Housing Assistance Corporation, we can never forget them.
Friends and fellow Cape Codders, my name's Tim Whalen. I'm the state representative from the 1st Barnstable District. And I'm here tonight to ask you to please look into your hearts during this season of giving and find whatever it is that you can do to help our friends and neighbors in need and support the Housing Assistance Corporation in the fantastic work that they do for people, not just in the Mid-Cape, but in the Upper Cape, the Lower Cape, all the way to the Outer Cape. Hack has been a resource for us on Beacon Hill when we've reached out to them on behalf of people that live here on Cape Cod. When people reach out to our office, our first call is to Hack, to Housing Assistance Corp, to try and get people the housing that they need to make sure that they're looked after. And Housing Assistance Corp has always been there for our friends and our neighbors. And I'm going to ask you to be there for Housing Assistance Corp. I've lived and I've worked in virtually every part of the Commonwealth. And I'm very, very happy to say that we have the best community here on Cape Cod. Cape Codders take care of their own. We always have and we always will. And I'm going to ask you to step up and do what you can, please, to help take care of our friends and neighbors in need during this special time and make sure that Housing Assistance Corp has the resources that they need to help those less fortunate. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Shelter Cape Cod Telethon. I have a great situation where I'm with students from the Wixon Innovation School, and they have come up with some interesting skits to work on what homelessness means to them. They are all from Ms. Nieder's class, I believe, and they're all in 5th grade. So we're going to work together. And kids, something you want to say to the people at home?
Merry Christmas!
Look at that. There'll be no cold coming here. It's all going to be presents, I'm sure. We have our people ready to take phone calls for our donations that are much needed. And what we're going to do with the students is 3 groups of 2 each. They're going to talk a little bit about how they decided to do what they wanted to do. And at that particular point in time, they're going to do their little skit. So guys, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes!
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's have our first 2. You guys can do your thing. Stand right up to the mic, gentlemen. All right? And introduce yourself.
My name is Justin. My name is Sean. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And tell me, come here for a second. Come right to the middle. How did you decide? Look at the camera. How did you decide to go ahead and do the skit together?
Well, at first I was gonna work with my friend named Colette, but then I wanted to work with Justin because we work good together.
You and Justin work well together?
Yeah.
What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I wanted to work with Sean because he's a great guy and he helps people so much and he likes to work. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a perfect person to work with, Sean. I'm very, very impressed. Nice job. Well, guys, you ready to go ahead and do your presentation to the people at home?
Yes.
Stand back a little bit, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
get
They
over
did
here.
not bring my food yet. This restaurant drives me crazy.
I wonder where I'll get my next meal.
I ordered the latest iPhone and they did not have my favorite color.
I don't have a phone because I have no address.
My mom expects me to wear these jeans that are a year old.
I don't have a TV because we. Oh wait. Today at church they donated some clothes and shoes to us.
I'm so tired of this 60-inch TV. I better get a big one for Christmas.
I don't have a TV because I don't have any money.
My family says that these $300 Jordans are too expensive, but I think I deserve them.
Today at church, they donated some clothes and shoes to us.
Oh man, not steak again.
We don't have a lot of food, but we rely on a lot of charities.
My doctor gives me medicine that tastes bad. Ah, I hate it.
Me and my sister get sick a lot, but we don't have enough money to go see a doctor and get medicine.
I don't want to watch TV at home. Why can't we go to the movie theater?
I can't go to the movies because we don't have enough money.
My mom did not bring me to the pet show. I was so mad.
I can't have any pets because the shelter doesn't allow them.
I'm waiting on the latest. I was waiting on the latest games for my Xbox, and it hasn't come yet.
Today after school, my friends wanted to go on a bike ride, but since I had no bike, I couldn't go.
I love to play with my friends.
I love to play with my friends.
I love my family.
I love my family.
I like to go swimming in the summer.
I like to go swimming in the summer.
I like to be safe.
I like to be safe.
Cape Cod is my home.
Good job, guys. Very nice job. Well rehearsed. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And next up, believe me, these two are not camera shy, so this will work out just fine. Hi, guys. How are you? That's good. Right about there. Back up a bit. There we go. Introduce yourself.
I'm Georgia.
Georgia. And?
And I'm Ashley.
Ashley. Ashley, thank you very much. Come together here for a moment, the two of you, right with me. How did you decide to do this skit? Why are you working together?
Because we think that this is a very important subject, and because of how many homeless people are on Cape Cod.
Very nice. And?
We thought that we were a good pair to work on and have it serious as well.
Excellent, excellent. And I will say, what we're rehearsing with them, they're quite the pair. So, guys, you stand to the side again, same distance, just back a bit, all right? Remember, we rehearsed, and when you're ready, do the cue.
What homelessness means to us by Ashley Blackledge and George Uranio. People become homeless for a variety of reasons. It doesn't matter age or race, it doesn't matter the season. And medical emergencies can wipe people's savings right out. And sky-high real estate prices are shocking without doubt. Cape Cod needs more jobs that pay living wages. They also need more shelters for people of all ages. But what are we supposed to do? We are asking you to join us in helping Cape Codders in need. We'd appreciate your generosity, your kindness, and your speed. So please make a donation to the Housing Assistance Corporation. We hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
Nice job, guys. Awesome. Thank you very much. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And last but certainly not least here, come on in, guys, and get your distance. I got it. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Kendija.
Okay. And?
I'm Ariana.
Ariella. Yes, you've got corrected me to do that. Thank you very much. Now, guys, step in for a moment. I want to know how you two decided, in the middle, I'm sorry. I want to know how you guys decided to work together, come up with this idea.
Because we were doing a homeless essay and then we thought we could work together for it.
Okay.
We are friends and we just decided to work together.
It's nice working with friends, isn't it? It makes it so much easier. Okay, so to get centered with your mics again to the side. Nicely done. And when you're ready, give each other the cue and go.
What homelessness does by Candy DeBrissett
And Ariana Korea.
Let me tell you about Cape Cod.
Barnstable County Fair.
Saltwater taffy.
Beautiful whale watches.
Love the cotton candy.
Miles of sandy beaches.
Homemade ice cream.
Country stores.
Cape Cod potato chips.
Lighthouses.
The Kennedys.
But to be homeless on Cape Cod.
No address to get a job.
No job to get money.
No money to rent a house.
No car to drive to job.
No security.
No bed of my own.
No place to entertain my family and friends.
Sky high rent.
Loneliness.
Desperation.
Constant worry. One beautiful place.
Two very different realities.
Well, yeah. Well done. Well done. Very nicely done. Thank you. Now I want you all back out here again. Come on, let's get back. I need 2 more. Thank you. Have a seat. Every year, I have the good fortune of being invited to Wixon Innovation School to talk to all the 4th and 5th graders at the Assembly Hall. We talk about what it means to be homeless on Cape Cod. Some of our students, quite frankly, are homeless without permanent shelter within our schools, and that's true of all the schools, frankly, on the Cape. I taught for 34 years in the Dennis-Yarmouth Regional School District, and every teacher is fully aware of some of the challenges our students face. One of the wonderful things about getting together with our students is not only are they enthusiastic during the assembly, asking questions, but if you look up on the stage behind us, there's all kinds of food that they bring in every single week to be sent home with students who need food at home. This is a very important issue on the Cape. We have a lot of at-risk families, at-risk students, and I'm very, very proud of these young people who took the time to rehearse and to look at it, and 2 of them even memorized it flawlessly. So you guys did a great job. Let's give them a hand for the great work they did. So guys, you should feel good. You can go back and get all the food you want back there. Thank you very much, okay? Bye-bye.
That's the St. Pius X school performing those kids are so cute. I just love to watch those kids sing. With me is Ray Tomasi, who is the president and founder of Gosnold and Cape Cod and the Innovation Center. What is the Innovation Center?
Hi, nice to see you. Merry Christmas. Well, it's a small division that we're looking at new ideas, new approaches to treatment, prevention, intervention, to try to do more to stem the addiction crisis really on Cape Cod and throughout Massachusetts. So it gives me a chance to speak with a lot of individuals that are thinking about new ideas, find out what's going on in other parts of the country, and try to bring that information back and apply it right here in the local area. So it's a little new twist for me, but I love it.
Yeah. So talk about how addiction and the addiction crisis contributes to homelessness.
Well, you know, it's pretty clear now, the research is pretty clear that as well as we can do in providing treatment, direct treatment, that unless an individual has the basic essentials for living, then the gains that you make in treatment are very quickly eroded. And so principal among those is secure and stable housing. And it is a problem that we face here, as obviously we're doing this, so we know that. And so the contribution of addiction to homelessness, the linkage is very, very powerful. Addiction, mental illness, homelessness, poverty, all of the things that become generational and pass on, those are the things that require a community effort and a collaboration across the aisles, if you will. But I think at the core of it, at the base of it, is secure and stable housing, because people have to know they can go to a place and be safe. That's why this is so important.
There's a lot of regional and national attention to the, especially the opioid crisis. Where are we in this? Do you feel like we're gaining some ground? Is it getting worse? Where are we at?
Well, you know, I think the first thing to be said is what is viewed by most people as a 4 or 5 year crisis is actually in its 20th year. So the first thing to understand is that that will not get turned around in a year or 2 years. But I think what's being done in Massachusetts is certainly ahead of most of the country. I think Massachusetts and New Jersey have done more than any other state. The governor's committed to this. He's committed resources to it. And we've started the conversation thinking about this a little more globally, as a medical condition, as one that extends over a period of time, as one that requires more than just sort of going to a rehab for a month, but it requires long-term supports in the community. It requires medication in many cases. And we're doing much better, I think, in the messaging around addiction, so that the great stigma of addiction keeps so many people away from treatment. And I think we've made good strides with that. So I think we're headed in the right direction.
You brought up a really good point that I just want to reiterate again, in that when you go through rehab, say you're in a month in rehab, that time when you come out is critical. If you go back to the situation you were before, your chances of using again are much greater than if you were in a more supportive environment.
A very high risk of regression in the first month following treatment. And that's why the supports that individuals need, we think at least for the first year. And, once you get to a year and things start to level out a little bit, your chances of staying in recovery are much better. If you get to 5 years, the likelihood of regression after that is down to 15%. So we have to think about that as the positive side of what treatment and community supports can do to sustain people in long-term recovery and become productive citizens who can enrich the community. So we're getting there. We're going to get there.
I want to add one more thing. I was talking to a parent of a son who's in recovery, and she said one of the things that was hardest for her was, as a parent, you have all these expectations. My child's going to be a doctor or a lawyer. What she says now her expectation is that he's going to live another healthy day. And she said that was probably the hardest adjustment, was to change her expectations once her son got into recovery.
Well, and I think part of what's contributed to the sort of the immediacy of the concerns are because of the tremendous power of the drugs, the fentanyl that's out there, the carfentanil. The risk of overdose and overdose death is very, very high. And so that puts families on tremendous edge. You never want to get that phone call. You're waiting on edge. So this really sort of erodes the very essence of a family's life. And on the other hand, on the other side, when individuals get into recovery and when families begin to get reunited and connected and understand this illness in a much more scientific way even, it's a joy to watch. And we need to hear more of those stories. Yeah.
Celebrate those stories. Thank you so much, Ray Tomasi. Thanks. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. I think up next we have Paula Schnepp. Hello, Paula. Paula is the coordinator of the Barnstable County Regional Network to Address Homelessness. Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you again. So what's the status of homelessness on the Cape?
Well, I'll tell you, the last 2 days with the cold weather, I've been wondering if everybody's been able to get out of the cold.
So we do this count every year, and in some ways it's a little bit misleading because you're not going to, it's one night, and you're not going to get everybody because we have those people who are, what they call couch surfing, or they might have a spot for tonight, and then tomorrow night they're sleeping in their car. So how do we get a handle on what the actual numbers might be?
Well, one of the things that we've put in place this last year is a coordinated entry system. So we're actually doing assessments of homeless individuals during the entire calendar year. So we're actually getting a much better understanding of who enters into homelessness and stays in homelessness.
So what else is the county doing on this issue?
Well, we have a large federal grant that comes to the region, $1.7 million, and a lot of our effort is to make sure that we're managing the process to get the money and to best use it and make sure that people are getting the housing units. And it's been tough the last couple of years with the actual number of units available to get housing.
Are you optimistic looking forward?
I always remain optimistic. We've had a number of affordable housing developments. Again, when we increase the supply of affordable housing, it makes it easier to get everyone into housing.
Paula Schnepp, thanks so much for being here. Always good to see you. All right, next up we have State Representative Sarah Peak, another surprise visitor to our telethon. Hi.
Hi, Mindy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good, thanks. Very happy to be here tonight.
And I guess, Julian Sear was here a little while ago, and this was an issue he campaigned on, but I think this is an issue everybody campaigns on. This is an important issue.
Well, it's more than a campaign issue. This is a very real issue that we deal with every day. We deal with it in terms of trying to fund the appropriate line items at the state level. We deal with it in working with our local agencies here to support them, whether it's through special funding needs or legislative needs. And I'll tell you, HAC and the other agencies here on the Cape are also, it's a two-way street. They're a great resource for my office. I can't tell you, especially this time of year when it starts to get cold, how many people are either homeless or maybe one rent check away from becoming homeless. So we reach out to HPC and to HAC and really depend on the expertise that the folks at HAC have to keep people in their homes, or if they're homeless already, to help them find shelter. It happens in the winter, often, even through the spring, and sometimes there's a real interplay. We just had a constituent case the other day where somebody worked in a seasonal job and they'd filed for unemployment. They're going on 5 weeks without having received their check. Their rent is due. Their landlord is banging down their door. So we try to offer, in many ways, wraparound services that way. Being a legislator is about more than legislating. We do quite a bit of, I would call it case management, and without the nonprofit network that we have here on the Cape, it would be impossible to help people.
And it's amazing, too, when we were talking at the top of the program with Elisa about prevention and keeping people from homelessness and maybe paying that rent check. And I think I may be a little bit off on the numbers here, but maybe something like $1,500, $2,000 to keep a family from homelessness, which is much more cost effective than letting them get out in the street and then finding homes for them later.
That's right. And, out at my end of the Cape that I represent on the outer and lower Cape, it's particularly critical to keep people in their homes because it seems that as a year-round tenant leaves, in a blink of an eye, a property suddenly goes into the weekly rental market. And not only is that not a home for the family that's become homeless, but we've lost a home for other people living out there on a year-round basis. And I think often, one of the reasons I'm here tonight is I think often when we read in the press about the homelessness situation, we're talking about, when we read about what's going on in Hyannis. And I'm here just to make the point, and to people who are watching, that this is not a mid-Cape issue, this is not an upper Cape issue, this is a Cape-wide issue. And there are people living in Provincetown, Truro, and Wellfleet, as well as in Chatham and Harwich. Let's see, who did I leave out? I don't want to leave East Ham and Orleans out. But there are people who are living in all of those lower and outer Cape communities who are maybe one paycheck away from being homeless, or one check away from deciding, are they going to pay for fuel oil to keep warm, or are they going to keep a roof over their head? And thank goodness for the services that are offered. We have great organizations out our way, but so much that happens, so many of the agencies are right here in the Mid-Cape area, and it's important for people to support them.
And it's important to support them, too, because, things change. And I'm just thinking back to when we had the foreclosure crisis, and they added staff, and they had people here to work with families to try to help them keep their homes. So they sort of adjust as to whatever the needs of the community are.
That's right. That the whole mortgage mortgage counseling was so critically important. I know Jay Coburn is going to be on the program later on as I looked at the schedule, and you have to give the Lower Cape, well, they used to be the Lower Cape CDC, but the I'm drawing a blank on their name, and you are also, because I called them by their former name. But anyway, the work that they do, both to help find shelter for people, and that's really more permanent housing. But they work on the other side of it also to help people start up or keep their businesses vibrant. So they're working on it from the economic side as well. The Lower Cape CDP.
Thank you.
Community Development Partnership. I knew if I kept talking, it would come to me.
State Representative Sarah Peak, thanks for stopping in. Good to see you.
Hey, Mindy, good to see you. Happy holidays to
Happy
you.
holidays to you, too. And we're going to go up to Sarah Colvin and see what's happening on the phone bank.
Say thank you to D. Higgins Realtor from Old Cape Sotheby's for a $100 donation. Deborah Wilbur from William Ravis Real Estate, also a donation for the Shelter Cape Cod. Again, you can call 508-694-6670. Trying to get some of these hardworking folks that are up here to see if they have a few words to say. My friend John Cotton is sitting right in front of me. How's it going, John?
Very good today.
And why is it important for you to be here helping out at the Shelter Cape Cod Telethon?
Well, anything we can do to help support Housing Assistance Corp. and for all the great things that they do to support the community, it's just doing our small part. So it's great to do it, having fun doing it too. So
great. I see a lot of your colleagues are up here as well with you on the phones.
we have plenty of colleagues here from First Citizens Federal Credit Union. It's all part of the culture here at First Citizens, and pretty much, I think 80% of the people manning the phones today, right now, are from First Citizens, and we just love giving back to the community.
Great. Thanks, John. And when's your next road race coming up?
Few months.
All right. And well, thank you. We'll go right back to Mindy. I see that Matt Pitta has joined us here in studio.
That's right, Matt Pitta's. I've worked out all the kinks in the show, Matt. So
they're all set now?
you're going to take
Everything's
over,
ready
and
to
it's
go?
all ready to go.
I brought props this year.
Oh, wow.
And I have something for you too, sir. I brought 3 props. What are you wearing? Maybe we'll wear some reindeer antlers tonight. You like those?
Yeah, but
Try
I'm
those?
going to be hopping my way
I
out.
know.
So.
How about this?
Yeah, now that's cool. Yeah, I think you should definitely.
You like those?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Well, you used to have that scarf. Remember the scarf, the famous scarf you and Rick used to share?
Oh, that's right.
And you never let me share the scarf, so I said, I'm bringing my own
Bring your
props.
own props. All right, well,
Sarah,
Matt's-
what do you want?
Yeah,
you want
so
I
you're
have something.
gonna-
I have a bigger hat over there for you too.
So for you. Okay, she'll wear the antlers. So yeah, it's always an honor to be here every year for as much as I can contribute here, and I'm really happy, Matt, that you're able to do the next 3 hours.
What a great night, and
It
it's so
is,
exciting.
yeah.
You know, we've got a lot of work to do tonight, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Hear some really great, amazing stories tonight, and raise a lot of money. We have a long way to go. Sarah, are you ready for the duration? She's ready.
Yeah,
All right.
Sarah's here for the rest of the
Here for the
evening.
duration.
Yeah, and it really is so important because, as we've been talking about, there are a million reasons that make somebody homeless or a family homeless, and so many people living paycheck to paycheck. I don't think it's hard to imagine what might send you over the edge to losing your house. And so this is what the work of the Housing Assistance Corporation does, helps keep people in their homes, helps people find homes, and as we heard earlier, programs to help people buy their first home, and get out of Section 8 housing. So a lot of great work.
Almost on cue today, it snowed, for the day of this telethon, and in a way it kind of drives home the fact that a lot of folks are going to be cold tonight, and people who are still on the street, it's going to be a very difficult night now that winter has set in. So it really kind of makes our mission here all that more important, really kind of punctuates what we're doing here tonight.
Right. And we look for your donation. Thanks.